Let's now move on and shift our attention to Hong Kong and specifically the coronavirus situation in Hong Kong, which is now turning out to be quite severe. As the city has now entered a fourth wave of the pandemic, at least that is what experts are saying. They're calling it the fourth wave of infections. Hong Kong subsequently has now ramped up testing and tightened measures at the border for people coming into the territory. New measures have been announced by Hong Kong's Health Minister, Sophia Chan. Listen in.
I would appeal to people to stop all the unnecessary gathering activities because the situation is severe now in Hong Kong. So the information from the Center for Health Protection, we have probably entered, into a new wave of cases. But of course, we are now doing our best.
That was, of course, the Health Minister urging people to stop unnecessary gatherings and activities. Hong Kong's Health Minister added that there is no way for the restrictions to be watertight. As the coronavirus infections in the city continue to rise, Hong Kong has now suspended in-person classes for lower primary school students as well. Hong Kong's Health Minister Sophia Chan described the situation as deteriorating rapidly after 26 new coronavirus cases were confirmed on Friday, 21 of which are locally transmitted cases.
近日咧，香港嘅疫情咧係出現急速嘅惡化。繼琴日大家記得啦，喺衛生署衛生防護中心佢哋公布咗嘅有成20宗20多宗嘅初步確診個案。咁我哋而家咧係今天咧係會公布咧呢啲嘅確診嘅個案咧，呢個初步確診嘅個案咧係已經係確實咗會有新增咧26宗新增嘅個案，而當中咧有21宗咧係本地嘅個案。
The surge comes as a travel bubble between Hong Kong and Singapore is due to begin on Sunday. Under this arrangement, people would be allowed to travel between the two cities without observing quarantine but must take a COVID-19 test before departure and upon arrival. There would be no restrictions on the purpose of travel. However, if the COVID-19 situation deteriorated in either city, the travel bubble would be suspended. Hong Kong has recorded around 5,500 coronavirus cases and 108 COVID-19 related deaths since the pandemic began. The city was ranked number 1 for arrivals globally in 2019 by the research company Euromonitor International. The Chinese-ruled semi-autonomous global finance hub makes about 5% of its gross domestic product, or about $18 billion, directly from tourism. About 56 million people visited Hong Kong last year, but due to the closure of borders, it is now facing a tourism bust. And now to know more about the coronavirus situation in Hong Kong, we are being joined by journalist Alvin Loom from Hong Kong. Thanks so much, Alvin, for joining us. Now, Hong Kong has ramped up testing and tightened its measures at the border for people coming into Hong Kong. What are the other measures that are in place to tackle this fourth wave, as the experts are calling it?
Well, the latest measure is to impose restrictions on the bars and some of the hotels to restrict some of the live performances within these places. Well, it's not exactly a complete shutdown of bars and hotels, but it's also to make sure people, while you're enjoying yourself in these premises, you also have to be mindful of personal hygiene and to minimize interaction with people.
Right. Now, Alvin, the surge obviously comes as a travel bubble between Hong Kong and Singapore is due to begin on Sunday, in fact. So how do you assess the impact of this wave on this development, and how will the tourism sector particularly be impacted?
There's a lot of uncertainties moving forward. The Singapore authority has said if there are over 22 untraceable cases over the next 3 days, it would be put on hold for another 2 weeks. So there's a good chance that, depending on how it turns out in the coming few days, there's a chance that it can be suspended. And it would be a bad news if that's the case for local tourism, because they were longing for travel for so many times, and it's increasing the challenges for things to get back to normal, because local tourism, local customers just couldn't sustain it yourself. You have to have tourists from other places.
Right. Now, Alvin, my final question. Has there been any clarity from the government as to what could have prompted this fourth wave, and what is it going to do differently this time around to avoid fresh clusters of coronavirus?
Well, the government seems to believe that it's because of some untraceable cases that was in the last time, but it could be in the community, even it doesn't break out during the past few weeks. The way forward seems to be there will be some partial mandatory screening, and also to impose better tracking over the known cases. So, there'll be applications that are rolling out that people would fill in where they've been. So just in case they unfortunately contracted the virus, they can be traceable. So they're working on better tracing, and that seems to be the strategy that they want to do now.
Right. All right, Alvin, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and for all your inputs on this story.